Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be brewing one of our foundation beer kits. So if you're wanting to brew some proper beer at home, this is the kit for you. This is using some proper brewing ingredients like hops, like brewer's yeast and malt extract to get you a fantastic beer. So let's get going on this brew. So what is a foundation beer kit? Well, we've put these kits together basically as a beginner-friendly way to help you start brewing. This will give you all the foundation that you need to get into bigger brews, making all grain kits. So what do you get in the kit? Well, let's start with the malt side of things. These are malt extracts. This is going to give you all the fermentable sugars ready to make some awesome alcoholic beer. On the hop side of things, you get isomized hop extract. These are oils that are extracted straight from hops, and this is going to give you the bitterness that you want in the beer. Next, we move on to the dry hoppings. This is proper T90 hop pellets. This is what all brewers use in big breweries, two little breweries, but this is the proper stuff. We also have some proper brewing yeast from fermenters. This is going to give you exactly what you need in terms of flavor, in terms of the alcohol that you want to get from your beer. The benefits of using malt extract is there's no mash required. Mashing is where you're taking the grains and extracting the sugars. With using malt extract, it's pretty much done for you. All you're going to be doing is adding water. We always recommend people starting at this point because to make an all grain kit, there's a lot of little nuances that you've got to know. This is basically jumping you forward. However, it is going to show you the basics on cleaning, on getting your temperatures right, everything you need to do as a foundation part of becoming an excellent homebrewer. So what are you going to need? Well, obviously in the ingredients, the next most important thing is instructions. You need to be able to follow instructions, making sure that you're doing every step in the way. Knowledge is power in this point. Other parts are obviously equipment. Let's get into that. So with any brewing, you're going to obviously need equipment. Here we have got a plastic bucket. This is a food grade bucket. It's got a lid. It's got a little tap in the front there. This is where all the fermentation is going to happen. So you also need a paddle, airlock. You are going to need some cleaning equipment, like we've got the Oxy No Rinse here. We've got a spray bottle full of Star San. We'll talk about that later. A jug. Some of these things are some great things to have, but not always necessary. Very important, you need a hydrometer. This is so we can get some gravity readings. We'll get through that a little bit later as well. But we sell complete kits of everything that you need for any brew day, including all the capping equipment that you need for bottling. But in this video, this is basically all we're going to be really using is our fermenter. Again, a paddle, something to mix things up with, and the airlocks and the cleaning equipment. So let's get into it. So the first step on any brew day is making sure everything is clean. Even if it's new, get it cleaned. I've already cleaned this bucket, I've already cleaned the lid, I've got some of the other little bits and pieces that are sitting on the side here. What I'm going to do, and this is quite helpful to have, is a second bucket. This is going to be filled with some water and some sanitizing liquids. So basically you're going to be mixing up some of your sanitary equipment, keeping stuff like your paddle, even your airlock and bits and pieces. Leave it inside there, let it soak for a while. This is going to make sure that everything is clean and when you are ready to use it. Obviously we want to clean all our surfaces, so let's get that done first. Just a quick one, again, spray bottle with your sanitary mixture in here makes life a lot easier, especially when cleaning things. You want to clean your hands as you're going along, makes everything a lot easier. That's step one. Like I said, we've already cleaned all of our equipment, all our buckets, everything that we're going to be using through the brew day. We just want to make sure that our surfaces are clean and that we keep everything nice and sanitary as we're going along. I'm going to also give my bucket just a quick spray down. Not necessary, but there's a common saying, brewers are actually cleaners who brew on the side. So get used to cleaning. The next step, and especially when doing malt extracts, you want to do what I've done here. All this is boiling hot water. I've got our malt extracts in the hot water. This is basically, when you get your malt extract, the liquid is very thick and kind of hard to get out the bottle straight away because of the thickness. So keeping it in hot water for a little while, 5 minutes, it's going to help get the viscosity of your malt extract a little bit better and flowable, so it's easier to pour in the bucket. So that's been sitting here for a few minutes, and we're just going to leave that a little bit longer. The next step is going to be hot water. You need about 3 liters of hot water to get everything started. This is firstly to help mix up your ingredients a little bit easier in hot water, and B, to get the wort that you're going to be making up to temperature. Temperature is vital in brewing. Throughout the brewing process, your yeast needs a nice warm home to do its thing. So let's get some hot water in the bucket. Like I said, about 3 liters. Quick brewer's tip while I'm waiting for some more water to boil. If you're wanting to improve your home brewing, you might want to look at water profile. Beer is, 80 to 90% water. So changing your water profile and giving it everything it can need to get to a desired water profile. Now, we're not going to be doing it in this brew. It is fine just to use standard water and stuff like that, but it is something to look at. We do have videos on improving your home brew with water profiles, so check that one out. So guys, we got some hot water in here. It's about 3 liters. The next step is going to be getting our liquid malt out of the bottles and into here. Easy. So again, it's been sitting in the hot water for a while, and hopefully there's some nice viscosity. Might not be as liquid as you need it, but you can leave it in there for as long as you need it. But yeah, let's just get these guys out. One thing I can say, it smells amazing. So the last little step on getting our malt extract into our bucket is basically, there's quite a lot of malt extract that gets left in here. So what you want to do, pour some nice hot water inside here. Give it a good mix up. And just a quick disclaimer, you are using hot water. I should have probably said this in the beginning. You are using hot water. Be a little bit careful. Steam, hot water burns, but be careful. So basically, a little bit of hot water in these buckets. Just get as much of that out of the bottles as possible. All 3 bottles. Again, this is to help your sugar levels and getting to that gravity reading that you need for fermentation. I'm also just checking the bottom of these things just to make sure I'm getting as much of that liquid malt out. The one thing I have learned is avoid putting the lid on these things when you've got hot water in it. Kind of likes to expand a bit, so if you don't want any explosions, don't do that. Just keep the lid open. Okay, so we've got all our sugars inside the fermentation bucket. The next little part, and this is vital for yeast health, is aeration. Aeration is basically us mixing up everything. It's obviously going to mix up all of our wort together, it's all of our malt extract together, make sure that it's all mixed up properly so nothing is kind of stuck at the bottom. So you want to almost scrape the bottom with your paddle. Make sure nothing is sticking. Aeration is also quite important for yeast health. Right in the beginning, you want as much oxygen in your wort as possible. So the aeration will help your beer in the long run during fermentation. You want to do this for about 2 minutes or so. Just a quick tip while I'm doing this. When you've got your paddle and you've got a plastic bucket like that, never smack the sides of your plastic bucket. This is going to create issues with the seam that's over here. Rather, tap it on the side, give it a shake off. Never smack the edge. Quick brewing tip. So, the next step is going to be filling this up with cold water. Now, what we're going to be looking for, I'm going to be doing a 25 litre kit, but we're going to be filling this up to about the 25 litre mark. That's one thing you need to have a look at. The next thing is over here on any of our kits we send out, we have a temperature gauge. You can use a thermometer and stuff like that, but you're going to be watching that temperature. That is going to be getting your temperature ready for fermentation. With this particular yeast, and on most yeast packets, it will actually tell you at the back here, we want it to ideally be at about 18 to 26 to make the yeast healthy. On this particular kit, we're going for about 18 to 22 degrees. So the instructions are all on the kit, but that's what we're going to be doing next. Getting some cold water in here. And again, this is actually going to help with the aeration of your wort, so don't be too gentle. Okay, so we're almost at our 25 litre mark. Our temperature's sitting okay. If you do need to, and it all depends on how cold your cold water is, you might need to add a little bit more hot water just to balance out and get the temperatures all right. Obviously, give it a little bit of a mix up just so that your hot and cold water are mixing properly so you can get the temperature correct. But you might just, like I said, need to balance that out with a little bit more hot water. So guys, we've got our water level up to the 25 litre mark. Our temperature is reading exactly where we need it to be. The next step is basically adding in the isomized hop extract. Again, this is the bittering of your beer. So this particular kit has got 40 IBUs, and this is basically natural hop products and all the alpha acids that are in hops to actually give you bittering in your beer. So let's get that in. One handy little tip when dealing with this is wash your hands afterwards. This stuff is terribly bitter. You don't want to get this in your mouth. So we've got our hop extract in there. Let's just give it a quick mix up just to make sure that our hops and wort that we have made are all well mixed together. Adding oxygen to your wort is going to help your yeast in the beginning stages. Basically, yeast is a live culture, so it needs oxygen. So make sure your wort is nicely aerated, and that'll make sure that your yeast is nice and happy. So what we need to do now is do a gravity reading. This is quite an important step. This is basically going to make sure that we have enough fermentable sugars in our wort. It's going to also allow us to know what our final alcohol is going to be at the end of the day. We want to take this reading down. This kit in particular, it is for a 25 litre kit, we're looking at 1042. That is going to let us know how much sugars are inside here. We want to record whatever reading we get on the actual fermenter. Sometimes you don't always hit that mark 100%. You might be a bit higher, might be a bit lower. It's not a big issue, but if you are wanting to make it a little bit higher, you can add stuff like sugars, but we're not going to be concentrating too much about that in this video. But let's take that gravity reading. What we need is some sort of vial that we're going to get that wort that we've made in the bucket in there. So let's get that. Okay, so we've got a sample of our wort. This is basically what's in the fermenter. What we need to do is take a gravity reading. Here we're going to be using a hydrometer. Whatever tool that you have to take gravity readings, use that obviously. But this is what you're usually going to have. Basically a hydrometer, we're going to pop it inside there, and it's got readings on the side that we need to take a level reading on. So let's get that in there and check what we've got. So just having a look at our gravity reading, we are looking just about right. Might actually be a little bit higher there, but that's fine. A little bit higher means we've got a little bit more sugar. But the most important thing is just to write that number down so that we can remember when it comes down to later on when we're taking more gravity readings. So the next and semi-final part about the actual getting all of the ingredients together is adding in the yeast. Firstly, we want to make sure we've got our yeast packets, we've got everything in place. We want to make sure that our lid is ready, our airlock is ready. That's just so we can close this up as quick as possible. We don't want to add in any nasty bugs once the yeast is added in there. The water is at the correct temperature. We've got our yeast packet. First thing, and very important, make sure it's all nice and clean and sanitized. So, clean hands. Clean your yeast packet. And don't forget, clean whatever you're going to be using to actually open your yeast bag. In this case, it's just a pair of scissors. Everything's nice and clean. Simply cut that open and pour that in. Just give it a little bit of a spread around on the top. There's no need to really mix it in, but get all that yeast out there. And that's pretty much it. Next step is make sure everything's clean again. Spray your lid. Make sure you get right into the corners. Give your top of the fermenter a bit of a spritz around. And then pop in your lid. Make sure this is nice and tight. One important part on this whole process is making sure that no air can escape your fermenter. Explain that in a second, but make sure this lid is on nice and tight. Give it a little bit of a knockdown. We've got our bubbler that has been sitting in our sanitary mixture for the last few hours. Just give that a nice spray down. Spray down the hole that you're going to put the bubbler and grommet in. Grommet in place. Bubbler in place. We're going to fill this up with some of our spray bottle sand mix, not too much. Bubblers are actually quite important. If you want to know more about bubblers, check that on our video, link to the top there. Basically what your bubbler is going to do, you just get that water level right. Your bubbler is going to do is, once your yeast starts actually fermenting, it's going to create CO2. That's going to allow the CO2 to escape, basically so that your fermenter doesn't blow up. It's also going to stop any nasty bugs and things that you don't want to actually get into your beer from coming in. So make sure that is in place. It's quite a vital little piece of equipment. Add the little cap, and that is on its way to being a fantastic fermented beer. So we got everything in the bucket. We've got our airlock on. The next part is fermentation. Fermentation should start within about 24 to 48 hours, and there's a couple of factors like temperature and yeast that'll indicate. But how you know your fermentation is going to be starting is this little bubbler will start bubbling. That's its job, is to make sure that the CO2 gas that your yeast is busy producing inside your wort is actually escaping properly. So keep an eye on the bubbler. If you are finding that there are problems with your bubbler, go check out our bubbler video that we've just done, explaining to you possibly any issues that you might have during this point. So basically what's going to be happening inside this bucket, and you can kind of see it if you shine a light through it over here, is The yeast is going to be eating up the fermentable sugars. That's going to be creating two things. It's the alcohol and CO2 gas. A lot of that is also going to come up as a layer of kind of a not so nice looking stuff called krausen at the top. You should be able to kind of see things happening over there. Don't stress about that too much. Your fermentation should take around about 10 days. Now, it does differ, again, depending on yeast, depending on temperature. What you're going to want to do is keep an eye on that temperature. Yeast is not a big fan of too much fluctuation when it comes to fermentation, so keep it at an ideal temperature. In this case, it was between 18 and 22, so you want to keep this maybe in a nice warm place. If you want to put a heat blanket around this, or a heat belt or a heat pad that's kind of maintain that temperature, that's also a good shout. While this is happening, you might see the bubbles start slowing down. It might even stop. It doesn't necessarily mean that fermentation is over. What you're wanting to do is do some gravity readings. Again, like we've showed you before, take your hydrometer, put it in some of the wort, take a little sample, make sure you've got decent access to that tap to take more samples. Throughout the fermentation, you want to maybe check it a few times when they, like I said, when the bubbles do stop. What you're going to want to look at is your final gravity readings. That is on the kit instructions. So you want to read that. We always suggest taking a gravity reading of about 3 days. If that gravity reading is at the mark 3 days in a row, you know fermentation has stopped. So let's move on to another stage in our kit. Most of our kits come with hops. This is for dry hopping. Some of them don't. You can have a look at other kits, but our fermentation kits, most of them come with dry hopping. So what is dry hopping? Well, dry hopping is basically adding T90 hop pellets into your fermenter during the fermentation process. You want to check your gravity readings again at about the 10-15 mark. That's when you know you can start dry hopping. Dry hopping is going to add fantastic aroma to your beer. The isomized hop extract added the bitterness. This is going to add those lovely hop flavors that everybody loves in modern day beers. So our hops all come in vacuum sealed nitrogen flush bags. This one isn't just because I've got to open it up, but I'm going to show you exactly what's inside here. For these kits, they all come in what we call hop tea bags. Hop tea bag is basically, it's a type of tea bag. So what you're going to want to do is take this, put it into a cup or mug or anything like that, and pour boiling hot water on top of it. That is going to get rid of any nasties that might be on the top tea bag itself. Once that's done, you're going to open up your lid and pop everything in there and let it sit. This is quite critical because you're going to be opening the fermenter. Make sure, again, everything is nice and clean, nice and sanitary. You want to spray down your hands, even spray down the bucket lid when you put it back in again. You want to leave that there for about 2 or 3 days, and that should be able to impart its lovely aromas into your beer. So the final step, after you've done your gravity readings, and they are consistent for about 3 days, is bottling. Now, bottling is basically getting this beer into a bottle. It's going to do a couple of things. Obviously, make it a lot easier to drink. And also, you're going to be doing your final bit of carbonation inside the bottle. So, glass bottle is probably about the easiest, simplest way to get your beers ready. You want to clean these bottles out. Again, make sure nice and clean, sanitary. Use a bottle washer. You're going to be adding in a little bit of sugars. So either priming sugar or carbonation drops into the bottle, and then you're going to be filling up your bottle with all the beer. Using something like a capper, or you do get some fancier stand cappers, put a bottle cap on there. So you're going to be bottle conditioning for plus minus 3 weeks, maybe about 1 week in a nice warm place, and about 2 weeks in a cooler place. This is just going to allow the carbonation to really happen inside your bottle. You want to leave this out of the sun and out of a place that's going to have kind of fluctuations on temperature, but that's kind of the last step. And if you want to know more about bottling, you can check it out on one of these videos over here. And that is it. You have now got yourself some fantastic beer to drink. It's quite simple using a kit like this. Again, using proper brewing ingredients like hops, like yeasts, and you're avoiding the complications when it comes to boiling. So it really does give you a good foundation on how to brew a beer. And if you like this video, why not hit a like and subscribe at the bottom there. And as always guys, happy brewing.